Right, so this is a very different site to where I was not long ago, in the space of sort of 6 months or so. So this is Gladstone Road, which is quite a busy section of Exeter. But I did a fair bit of study here of a beautiful ash tree, which did have a tree preservation order, and just to sort of set things in stone that even if a tree has a tree preservation order, it doesn't really mean much in Exeter, because all this builder's crap everywhere, Joe was somewhere living here in harmony with the local community. So I don't want to sort of go into too much of a waffle on here. This is only a quick summary, because the landscape's changed dramatically. So this is now a building site, and I'll quickly run through the... Sorry, there's so many cars, it's quite difficult. I will try and speak up. But this used to be the old ambulance station opposite Waitrose along Gladstone Road. As I said, they put a planning proposal in to demolish the old ambulance station and put student accommodation. It changed a few times, so it's now co-living, which is a more fluffy word. It's easier on the ears for the people of Exeter, because when people hear co-living, they don't tend to dispute planning. But as soon as you put student accommodation, people in Exeter get a bit bored of it. But anyway, it's co-living, and as I said, there used to be a lovely large ash tree here, which I nicknamed Joe, because my study shown that he was an all-male tree at the time. As I say, ash trees are dioecious in nature, so usually all male or female, but they can change from year to year. But as I studied Joe for a year and a half, give or take, and he, both the times when it was flowering, was male. So unfortunately for Joe, despite the great support of a local community and getting a tree preservation order, it wasn't enough, because sadly, when it comes to construction of housing and development, even if a tree's got a preservation order in it, it doesn't mean much, which is such a shame, because the whole point of a tree preservation order is exactly that. And of course, the get out of jail card for them was that the tree potentially had ash dieback, and there was one visual inspection which I must admit I wasn't overly happy with. There was no proper testing done, certainly no chemical testing done, because it would have cost the planners and developers money to do so. That's the last thing they want to do, is dip into their big purses. At the end of the day, they wanted it exactly how they wanted, and that lovely ash tree, Joe, to them was just an obstacle in the way. It was, you know, taking up precious space to squeeze human beings into small buildings and rooms. But as I said, I'm not saying no to the proposal. I just don't see why the tree had to go. I think it should have had a lot more. Well, I don't think the tree had a chance in this scenario. With a combination of the lack of vision of Exeter City Council's planning proposal system. I was very disappointed with how the Zoom meeting went with the proposal. Again, it was from memory, I think, well, Moore said, fine, let's just go ahead with the proposal. We don't really care about a green city. And there was about, I think, 4 from memory that said, no, this is wrong. But of course, just a few numbers changed everything. So in the end, the developer, planners and everything, they got exactly what they wanted. And then it wasn't that long after that Joe was taken down, and here we are now. So this is the beginning of the 6-story block of flats. So that's the other problem we have now, is this isn't going to be a gentle change to the local area. This is a massive change, and this is what we're seeing in Exeter. You know, we're getting a lot of rather vague looking high rises with small room spaces to facilitate co-living, and it's not even effective co-living. You know, there's no no attempt of green spaces, there's no solar. They have a small tick box that says if this complies to a certain standard of energy rating, it's fine. But again, basically, it's all about the planners, developers have got they hold all the cards, and it just seems like having the planning committee, in my opinion, for this outcome was utterly pointless, because we're now going to be stuck with a 6-storey block of flats, 133 rooms, and apparently 20% will be assigned to affordable living. That may well change. I mean, again, it might be that the planning is now changed, so there's more or less, but as always, they start off trying to have tiny rooms, squeeze as many people in, and then after toing and froing between planning committees and the locals, the outcome now is, as far as I'm aware, 6-storey block of flats, 133 small rooms. Funny, but I very much doubt that the people, the developers, I very much doubt they'll be living in any of these rooms. You know, they've probably got 2 or 3 nice fancy mansions and houses across Devon and other nicer sunny places, but for the people living in here, not going to be much fun. And a couple of annoyances as well is this area here with Waitrose there. It's quite obvious there should be a crossing, and that, in my opinion, was actually a failure on a combination of whoever manages the road, so Devon Highway and Exeter City Council. This is quite obvious, this is dangerous. It should have had a crossing even before, when there was an ambulance station. But of course now part of the agreement from the planners was, oh yeah, we'll put a crossing in because that makes us look really good. Well, I'm sorry, that should have been done before, so you're just filling in a gap that our public services failed to do flipping years ago. Too busy wasting money on other ventures. But anyway, as you can see, I'm quite sore about this. It was gutting to see that. I mean, I wasn't actually there on the day when the tree was felled, but it's just such a shame that Exeter is becoming a grey city, and annoyingly our logo is the opposite, Exeter, a green city. But I can't back that anymore, because if a tree preservation order doesn't hold true and planners have more power than the council and the locals, you know, what's gone wrong with the system? I mean, we've got the Tories absolutely destroying everything across the country whilst they're in power. HS2 is just, don't even get me started. And we're a Labour-controlled city, and this is the future of Exeter. So, yeah, between the two of them, they seem to be absolutely all, I don't know, I'm just so disappointed. And anyway, like I say, politics in this country, the Blues and the Reds have been in power, battling it out for flipping years, as long as I remember, and they don't have the actual interests of the people, certainly not the local environment. The only way forward is Greens, because, like I said, they've got fresh ideas and they actually generally care, and that's where I'm sort of going now, because, you know, between Labour and Conservative, it's just one shambles after another, and it's always the general public that always get affected by it. It's not the people, that elite pocket of people, the super rich and the fortunate. It's the 99% of people who have to go out and earn a living, who actually need a happy and healthy life, and the Blues and the Reds do everything to stop that. So anyway, I'm not going to go into our politics. If you want to see Exeter actually remain a green city, strongly recommend you actually vote the Green Party, which thankfully they are getting more votes now, and like I say, they'll help to actually shape Exeter to be a green city and actually stick to that. So yeah, that's summing it up. So this is now, like I say, I don't know when they'll actually plan to finish the construction, but from my memory it was November 2020 when the tree was still standing here. So a lot can change in a few months. So like I say, the next time I come here, this might be a very ugly looking 6-storey block of student accommodation, co-living, flats, whatever you want to call it. And again, there won't actually be a proper green space on site, because guess what? Part of the agreement was the planners, or developers, whatever you want to call them, basically just threw £50,000 at the Exeter City Council and said, guess what? Here's some money. on the condition that you say to all the people who live here, the nearest green space is, I can't remember where it is now, it's not too far, but it's vital that people in a shared environment, cramped environment, have their own green space. And that was almost just pushed aside because they've got the money, they can just do what they want. And I just feel sorry that this is the way Exeter's going, you know. The amount of trees they're going to plant won't offset the loss of that large mature ash tree. No proper green space. This is just the worst outcome we could have really hoped for. Very disappointing, you know. This is what happens when, to be honest, you've got a Labour-controlled city. Is this the future of Exeter? I don't want this to be like this. I'm not saying no to the co-living, but it's just done in such a bad way. And now that we've allowed a 6-storey block of flats, what's stopping it? The next one being 7, then 8, then 9, and it just goes on and on and on and on. Again, the problem we have is the Labour blame Conservative, Conservative blame Labour, and then the only people who suffer is the local economy, local environment, and the local people. The people who make the decisions, they're fine. Anyway, as I said, I'll hopefully put some notes on here on YouTube later, but as I said, this is the new construction site. Rest in peace, Joe. You did more for this community than pretty much all the flipping Tories, Labour and various people in charge. Just so disappointing that they don't value a tree like they should be. It won't be until every last tree's been cut down that we'll realise what idiots we've had in charge. Anyway, thanks for watching.